Gentlemen, this is Miss Humbert here. Sorry I couldn't be here today, so I'm going to quickly talk through the worksheet that you guys did, just kind of to serve as a review for you guys before you get going on your quiz itself. So let's take a look at number 1. This is your Learning Target 1 through 5 review, which you should have gotten a copy of previous to today. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at this. So first question is the perimeter. So in order for us to get the perimeter, we need to do some calculating. Okay, so we have basically two right triangles. So to get this side right here, I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So here I have 10 and I have 12. So I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem. That side that I want to know is my hypotenuse. So I'm going to set that equal to x squared. Again, I'm hoping you guys can solve the Pythagorean theorem comfortably on your own right now. So you end up getting that x squared is equal to 244. So then when you take the square root of 244, you get that side length right there is 15.62 meters. Now you're probably like, Ms. Humbert, how on earth are we supposed to get this side? We can't assume that right there is a right angle. What we do know is that's a right angle right there. So if you look at this entire thing as like a whole picture, you can actually see that this whole thing is one big right triangle. So we have one big right triangle with a 12, and then we have 10 plus 18. So spanning across the entire base of that huge triangle is 18. And then this side length right here is our hypotenuse of that triangle. So we have 12 squared plus 18 squared is equal to x squared. So then you end up getting that x squared is equal to 928. So you're going to take the square root of both sides, and you get that this side length right here is 30.46 meters. So now the first part asks us to get the perimeter. So to get the perimeter, we're going to take 15.62 plus 18 because we just want this side because we're just looking at the shaded triangle. So we only want that 18 side length. So 15.62 plus 18 plus 30.46 meters, that's going to give us 64.08. And then we're going to write millimeters, sorry, not meters, millimeters as our label. The perimeter of the label is not squared. Now, to calculate the area of a triangle, a lot of you guys forgot this on your last quiz, is it's actually 1/2 base times height. So my base of my triangle is 18. My height is how tall it is. So my height is actually 12. A lot of you guys did base times height correctly, but then you forgot to multiply it by 1/2 or divide it by 2. You need to do one of those two things. So 18 times 12 divided by 2 is going to give you 108. And then we're going to write that as millimeters, and then we're going to square it, remember, because area is always squared. Next, let's take a look at this here. So to find the perimeter, if it's a rectangle, then this side is also 9, or it's a parallelogram, but that's still true, and this side is also 18.5. So to get the perimeter, all we're going to do is 18.5 plus 9 plus 18.5 plus 9. And when you add all of those together, you end up getting 55 kilometers. Then to calculate the area of a parallelogram, all you have to do is base times height. So to get the area, all we're going to do is 18.5 times our height, which is 9. When you multiply those two together, you get 166.5, and then you're going to write it as kilometers squared. Remember that area is always squared. Let's take a look at number 3. You want to find the area of the trapezoid below. So to find the area of the trapezoid, your height is 10. Okay, so this is where it's good to have your note sheets out today, multiplied by the sum of your bases, and then divided by 2. Well, I like to take an extra step and add those two together. So I get 10 times 21 divided by 2. Multiply the top, you get 210 divided by 2. So then you're going to take 210 and divide it by 2, and you end up getting 105 meters squared. My suggestion to you is to be writing this down along with me, so that way you make sure you're punching everything into your calculator correctly, okay? Next, let's take a look for the area of the kite. Here's what I want you to recognize, because this screwed up a lot of people on the quiz. 8 feet only represents half of this diagonal. This side is also 8 feet. So the entirety of this diagonal is actually 16 feet. Then going this way, this much is 5 feet, and this much is 5 feet. So the entirety of this diagonal then is 10 feet. Now when you're finding the area of a kite, the formula is to take the two diagonals and multiply them together and then divide them by 2. Well, 10 times 16 is 160 divided by 2. 160 divided by 2 is 80. So then we end up getting 80. Our label is feet, and we want to square it. So we end up getting 80 feet squared. All right, let's take a look at 5. A trapezoid has a base length of 6 and 5 centimeters with an area of 136.5 centimeters. What is the height? Well, let's plug in what we know into the trapezoid formula. Well, we don't know the height, so I'm going to call that h. So we're going to do the height times the sum of our two bases divided by 2 is equal to the area, which is 136.5. So what we need to do is we need to multiply both sides by 2 to get that 2 over to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides by 2. So the 2's cancel out here. And then I get h times 6 plus 15 is equal to 273. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add these two together, and you get 21. So 21 times h is equal to 273. So now all I have to do is solve for h. So I'm going to divide both sides by 21, and I end up getting that h is equal to 13 centimeters. So the height is 13 centimeters. All right, let's take a look at some circles. So taking a look, oh, that's annoying, taking a look at number 6. So when you're talking about number 6, the area of a circle is pi r squared. So we know that our radius is 7. So all I have to do is plug in that radius for r. So my area is going to be equal to pi times 7 squared. Well, that's going to give us 49 times pi. Well, 49 times pi, again, you need to watch your rounding. I get 153.94, and then my label is meters, and I'm going to square it because we're talking about the area. Take a look at your rounding. I usually say use 2 decimal points. So then you're going to look at the third decimal point. If it's 5 or greater, round up. 4 or below, keep it the same. So then let's take a look at number 7. So for number 7, we want to look at the area of a circle below. So the entire diameter is 18 inches. So half of that is going to be 9 inches. So half of that is going to be 9 inches. So that means our radius is equal to 9. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to do pi times 9 squared. That's going to give us 81 pi. So you take and you multiply 81 times pi. That's going to give you 254.47. And then you're going to do inches squared. Okay, again, be watching your rounding, and then you're always going to round to 2 decimal points. Let's take a look at number 8. We want to find the area of the shaded sector. So we want to find the area of that sector right there. So first thing I'm going to do is take the degree of that central angle. So I'm going to take the degree of that central angle and divide it by 360. Then I want to take the radius, which is 18, and square it and multiply it by pi. So then I end up getting 130 divided by 360 times 324 times pi. So you can go ahead and you can type that entire thing into your calculator as I have it written here. So 130 divided by 360 times 324 times pi. So for your area, that's going to give you 367.57. And then we're going to do meters, and then it's going to be squared because we're talking about an area. So that's just the area of this shaded region right here. Let's take a look at this composite figure. So I see that I have a circle right here. I see I have a half circle and I have a rectangle. Well, let's focus on the rectangle. So the rectangle, to find the area, you're going to do base, which is 34, times height, which is 15. Now, if I have half of a circle, remember that half of a circle is 180 degrees. So basically what I have here is I have a circle with a shaded region of 180 degrees. So that's the shaded region that we're looking at right here. So what do I know? I know that it's 180 degrees. So to get that sector, I need to do 180 divided by 360 times my radius squared. Well, what is my radius? Good question. So the entire diameter right here is 15. So half of that 15 is 7.5. So my radius is 7.5 squared times pi. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to simplify these out. So first I'm going to do 34 times 15. That's going to give me 510. Then I need to add on my circle sector, which is 180 divided by 360 times 7.5 squared times pi. And when you do that, you get 88.36. So then I'm going to take and I'm going to add these two together. And when I do that, I get 598.36, and then our label is going to be feet squared, okay, because we are talking about the area of that sector. Last but not least, let's take a look at this one. So first of all, I see that all these sides are the same, which means all of these sides are 22 inches. So if this whole thing is 22 and this whole thing is 22, to get the area of the square, we need to multiply base times height. Now, I would like to focus in on this triangle. So for the triangle, I know that I have a base of 22 because that's given to me here. What I don't know is the height, so I'm trying to figure out this length. Well, I know from here to here is 22. So to go all this way is 42. So to get this distance right here, I'm going to take 42 minus, 42 minus that 22. And when you do 42 minus 22, you get that this height length here is 20. So the height of my triangle is 20. So we're going to add, now remember for a triangle you need to do 1/2 base times height or base times height divided by 2. So we're going to multiply by the base and by the height. So then we end up getting 22 times 22, which is going to be 484. And then we're going to add 220. So when you go through and you add the two of those, so you're going to do 484 plus 220, you end up getting 704 centimeters squared. So that's your answer for up there, is 704 centimeters squared. So that concludes your kind of review. So you can go ahead and turn in your review to the substitute when you are ready to go for the quiz. Thanks for listening.